Within the Civil War, multiple different weapons were used. There were differences in weaponry between the Confederate and Union armies. However, soldiers utilized many of the same resources of the military, mainly fighting with guns such as rifles, handguns, and even swords, cannons, and knives. At the time of the Civil War, innovations and technological advances were influencing many aspects of life, especially weaponry. The Civil War was considered both the last ancient war and the first modern war. Although the military still relied on the old means of warfare and battle tactics, the times brought forth unimaginable innovations such as the first ironclad ships, the first repeating rifles, and improvements to previously existing weaponry. Due to the weapons and innovations of the Civil War, warfare in itself was altered. A war. However, Civil War weapons are special because they help to define the war itself and the effects the Civil War can claim concerning the world and its people.
During the Civil War, many guns and knives were used. Guns was the Springfield rifle. It was reliable, rugged, and simple in construction. Because the technology of the Springfield rifle had increased, the accuracy of the gun was more efficient. This gun was responsible for the most deaths in the Civil War. At the time, the gun costed about $13 per gun. It was easy to use, and the interchangeability of parts made it good during the war. It was able to manage about 60 shots per minute. However, the Henry rifle wasn't an ethical weapon for the Civil War because it was too difficult to manufacture in large numbers and cost about $40. Similarly, there was the Spencer rifle. It was similar to the Henry rifle, but it was simpler. During the war, the most popular handgun was the Colt Army revolver due to its reliability and ruggedness. Another important invention of the war was the Gatling gun. It was one of the first machine guns of the time. The Gatling gun rotated on a crank to fire. The types of guns were breech loading, muzzle loading, and trapdoor loading. One of the swords used during the war was the Model 1832 foot artillery sword. This was issued to artillerymen. Its model was based on the Roman gladius. A similar sword was the Model 1840 light artillery saber. This was issued to mounted artillerymen. The Model 1860 cutlass was issued to naval parties. Sailors also had access to axes, harpoons, and grappling hooks. Other swords also include the 1830 dragon saber and the Model 1860 light cavalry sword. One considerably popular weapon carried by Confederates was the Bowie knife. Throughout the Civil War, the methods of ammunition and artillery changed greatly. Specifically concerning ammunition, the innovations brought forth new, highly efficient projectile used for rifles. One of these new types of ammunition was the mini-ball. The mini-ball was used by both Union and Confederates and resulted in many casualties. The bullet wandered and expanded. These bullets would shatter bones and inflict horrible wounds. They were also easy to load, so more could be used. Due to the injuries inflicted, doctors often had no choice but to amputate the area of injury. Ammunition in general was a complex process which required an approximate total of 9 steps to complete. Unique artillery was also used throughout the war. Cannons were greatly used as a part of separated artillery units on both sides.
The weapons used during the Civil War are significant to the war itself for a vast array of reasons. The most important reason is that weaponry simply made fighting the war possible. Without weapons, not much of a conflict can even possibly exist. Weaponry is the foundation of warfare, and specific to the Civil War, the amount of weaponry affected both the loss or win of the battle. Secondly, weaponry is important to the Civil War because it helped to define the war. Due to the technology of the weapons, the Civil War has become known by historians as the first modern war. The technology and innovations made soldiers able to fight more efficiently, ultimately causing the death toll of soldiers to rise. The war even portrayed the fact that the military technology of the times had surpassed that of many social aspects such as medicine and science. Because of the weaponry, the war had a much more significant effect on the world making the war itself more important and memorable. Weapons help to portray the war as a point in history, both the end of a technologically deficient era and the start of a trek into the uncharted territory of modern times.
My name is Ulysses S. Grant, and I was born in April 27th, 1822, in Georgetown, Ohio. I got an education in Georgetown. I also got a military education. At West Point, I'm the best known for leadership. I was in the war, and I fought for the Union. Due to my contribution in the war, the North was able to be victorious during the war. I had multiple weapons. However, my choice of weaponry was the Colt revolver, this bad puppy right here. My troops mainly used the Springfield rifle, and this is my sword. Alright, I'm gonna go to battle on my horse. My name is Robert E. Lee, and I was born in January 19th, 1807. After I grew up, I enlisted in the United States military. The reason why I wanted to be in the military because my dad was in the military. I graduated at West Point in 1825, and partially because my father was in the military, remember that. In the Civil War, I choose to use the Colt Peacemaker as my weapon and my trusty long sword. In the Civil War, I choose to use the Colt Peacemaker as my weapon and my trusty long sword. I fought for the South because I thought that fighting for state is better for country. My men used the Fayetteville rifle, and it's all good now. Now I have to go to battle.